I know that you're looking at Asia in a big way. Why? When you come from Europe and you're already quite established there.
So TransferWise is solving a global problem, and as such, it's natural for us to be everywhere where consumers are. We launched a company in UK, in London, and now we just recently launched our APAC headquarters in Singapore. We're already live in Australia, in Japan, and we're pretty excited about opening up the business in India next year.
It's a payment system. It's an overly crowded place. How are you undercutting banks and your competitors?
So payments is a huge field. We estimate that cross-border money transfer, which is our focus, is between $5 and $10 trillion annually. So it's a big market for a number of companies to exist. We're finding success by offering a very easy-to-use solution for a very low price and really focusing on...
How much cheaper are you compared to big banks?
Compared to using a bank, TransferWise will save you between 5 and 10 times the money you pay in fees to your bank.
So who would be your biggest competitors here in Asia? Would it be the big banks? Would it be the likes of Alipay, which is not just a Chinese player now, it's come to Singapore and going to the rest of the region?
So as we look at our consumers and as we look at what it's used before using TransferWise, we're seeing that majority of this is banks. So we are looking at local banks as being our competition globally. And wherever we go globally, we're seeing the same picture. Banks are underserving the customers and overcharging them for a very simple service.
That's why they're rich. Now, you've raised about $280 million recently, and to date you've raised about $400 million. Where will the money go to? How are you expanding? And where in Asia, in particular, are you looking at?
So TransferWise has been around for 7 years now. We're a profitable business. We're above 100 million in revenue, and we're going to double the business in the next 12 months. So we're really happy about the last funding round, which gives us a really strong balance sheet to continue our expansion. And we're looking at continuing expansion all around the world. Today we're in Singapore, and this is a key focus for us. We're looking at launching the service in India, as I mentioned. We'll be live in Hong Kong, and continuing what we have today going in Australia and Japan. But similarly, we have a strong business in the US. We're looking at Latin America. We're live in Brazil already. We're going to launch Argentina next year. So we are solving a global problem, and as such, the company needs to be available on a global basis.
You're already the biggest player in Europe. Are you planning to IPO, and what is your valuation? The number out there is $1.6 billion. Is that a fair valuation?
It's probably a fair valuation.
What challenges do you see going forward?
So for us, the focus is really to continue growth. It's about continuing to serve our customers and offer them a kind of a market-leading solution. And we will continue doing this, being a private business. Eventually, I believe TransferWise will be a public company. But for now, we're in a much better position to continue growing the company as private. We have a great investor base who has a very long-term view on the business, so we're very happy with that.
So if you were to IPO, what would make sense? Within the next 24 months, perhaps?
Further than that, if probably thinking 3-4 years out from now.
I'm wondering how Brexit is playing into your strategy. Is that impacting, or is that making you rethink your position in Europe?
So when we think about Brexit, there are two things which matter. One is talent, and the other is passporting of our license in Europe. So if you think about a fast-growing company like TransferWise, access to talent is key to continuing to grow the business. And if London becomes a less exciting place for talent, if it becomes harder to get people to move to London, that's obviously going to hurt the companies in London. And passporting is critical for us. Today we are licensed by FCA, which is probably the world leading regulator in fintech. There's a UK regulator, and we can use FCA license all over Europe. Now, we have a business running in all European countries, so we need to make sure we can keep on doing the business. So to keep on doing that, we are looking at opening a European headquarters somewhere in Europe to use that to serve our European customers. But TransferWise is UK headquartered and will stay UK headquartered.
But having said that, do you think Brexit would make London a less attractive fintech hub compared to maybe Singapore, which is trying to build itself?
So, the biggest problem with Brexit today is it's still very uncertain what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And I think uncertainty never helps businesses. So I do think that Brexit will make UK less exciting, and other countries will win. Singapore will win. Maybe we'll see Paris become a fintech hub, given everything that's happening right now. I think we will see more hubs globally. But probably in the end, it's good for consumers, more competition.
What are challenges facing startups as they seek investments? Because one of the concerns expressed to us is that perhaps bigger banks, financial institutions may take over their IP, their intellectual property. Is that something you've gone through or not?
So I think, when you're looking for investments, the challenge in fintech specifically is how do you go about building your brand, building trust. So TransferWise today has 2 million people using it worldwide. But if you're starting up as a small company, you're going to be fighting hard for your first 10, for your first 100 users. So actually, I think a very legitimate way of going to market is doing that together with the banks. Not every startup will be able to raise the money to build the brand and trust. For some companies, another way of going to market is actually working with the banks and using them as a go-to-market channel.
What do you make of copycat platforms? I mean, because it is such a big market, more and more companies are trying to do exactly what you're doing.
So, copying is probably the sincerest form of flattery. So, if you're seeing a company succeed somewhere in the world, then, actually it's legitimate to think about how do you bring that to your part of the world. And, you will do it locally. You might do it in a better way. When it comes to us, we feel really good about the position we're in today. We are the biggest online money mover in the world besides the banks, and we're continuing to grow fast. So we think we're in a great position, and if we continue doubling down on our strengths, continuing to offer very low cost, very fast transfers, I think we're in a strong position to continue being the leader.
David, just one final question. Some say that fintech will change more in the next 5 years compared to the last 30 years. What changes, what trends are you anticipating?
So for me, we're a very consumer-centric company. So for me, the most important is to look at it from a consumer point of view. So, I think fintech will continue to thrive if it continues to offer people cheaper, faster, and better tools. So I think that's what we need to look out for. How do the fintech solutions actually make people's lives better, helps them save money, and helps them do things quicker?